Hello, and welcome to the Wednesday night healing and meditation service here at Unity New Braunfels. I'm Reverend Gary Kanye. I'm so glad you joined our live stream, and we are ready for this night because we've got Reverend Sondra von Gyllenband who's going to lead us in understanding for forgiveness. And let's turn it over to Sondra. Glad you're here, Reverend Sondra. Yes.
Thank you, Reverend Gary. And thank you for all those who join us this evening. Forgiveness is one of those subjects that I love to talk about. It's a piece that was important for me to experience in my own life to move forward from my past. So for me, forgiveness is not about changing my past, but about enlarging my future. And we are in a time right now that we are experiencing a number of situations that have led us to perhaps experience bitterness, anger, rage, the deaths, the murders, the killings that have been so prevalent and so in our face have really hurt my heart, and I'm sure hurt the heart of many of you out there. So how do we deal with that, and where do we go with that, and how in the world do we get to a place of forgiveness with all that has gone on? And do we want to forgive? And why in the world would we want to forgive with all that's happened? So I just want to talk about this a little bit in terms of what does unforgiveness mean? What does unforgiveness do to us? And how can we look at this in a way that might make us want to open our hearts a little bit to making that change? Elizabeth Sand Turner says that unforgiveness is a destructive emotion, and it's based on a lack of understanding. It separates us from God. It locks into our bodies. It prevents wellness. It takes up space in our creative energies. It blocks the flow of prosperity and keeps us from our good. It keeps us in judgment. It keeps us from peace. It binds us to the past, thus living and reliving the situation. It keeps us from love, and there's no room for all that we wish for in our lives. If we stay in unforgiveness about a situation, how can we move on to that we desire? How can we move on? Because in that place of unforgiveness, we usually end up being lonely, angry, sick, and poor. So it doesn't give us that place that we change the past, but it gives us the opportunity to enlarge our future. In Lessons in Truth, Emily Cady says that to forgive is to give forth, to give some actual definite good in return for that was bad. Really, you say? How can we do that? So if we are living without forgiveness, it's like drinking poison and waiting for someone else to die. Being able to forgive means that you are able to move forward. Living life without forgiveness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. That's rather strong, don't you think? And yet, if you think about how the negative emotion of unforgiveness impacts us, we realize that that's really what's happening. So it may be a stretch to move into forgiveness. It may be a stretch to even want to move into forgiveness. And yet it's such an important piece of living life and living life abundantly and living life clearly, living life with all that it's meant to be. Forgiveness, according to Charles Fillmore, one of our co-founders, forgiveness is the mightiest of spiritual acts, and without it, nothing in the nature of real spiritual progress can be achieved. We can't achieve spiritual progress if we're unable and unwilling to forgive. So it doesn't mean that we're going to accept what has happened. It doesn't mean that we are going to believe that there is good, although we're going to address that in a minute, that there is good in what has happened. But we're going to move forward knowing that we can begin to forgive and free ourselves of the anger, free ourselves of that has put us in a place of pain, put us in a place that hurts our hearts over and over and over again. So when you think about forgiveness, can you think about allowing yourself to realize that there is grace that comes with forgiveness? Forgiveness does not always lead to a healed relationship. Some people are not capable of love, and it might be wise to let them go along with your anger. Wish them well. Take care of yourself. There's no need to put yourself back in harm's way, ever, for any situation. Take care of yourself. Love yourself enough to walk away if that is what's needed. Forgiveness has nothing to do with absolving a criminal of his crime. It has everything to do with relieving oneself of the burden of being a victim, of letting go of the pain, of transforming oneself from victim to survivor. Victim to survivor. Which do you want to be? Where do you want to spend your energy? This is C.R. Stratton. Where do you want to spend your energy? Do you want to go to the victim side and live as the victim and, oh, woe is me? Or do you want to move on and be the survivor and show people that there's more to you, that you can do this, that you can find the good in your heart to be, to give good where that hurt has been. If you want to see someone who's brave, look to those who can forgive. Look at those who have forgiven. It's from the Bhagavad Gita. And so let's look at that. Who do we know that has forgiven? Look at Jesus. From the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They know not what they do. They come from a place of ignorance, of lack of understanding, of truth. And that's truth with a capital T. And I believe this is true. I believe this is true in the face of what has happened recently. I believe this is true with those people who do not understand that all people, black life matters, brown life matters, all life, the goodness of people matter. if we take away skin, if we take away muscles, what do we have but skeleton? And can we tell the difference at that point? Can we tell the difference? You are a creation of spirit. And as a creation of spirit, you have divine within you. And from that place of divinity, you can see good. You can see good in others. I'm not saying that all acts are good. I'm not saying that murdering people and hating people and doing mean, ugly things to others is appropriate or right in any way. Please hear me. Please hear me. I'm not saying that that's appropriate or right, that we should be doing it. But I am saying that in truth, with a capital T, that we are all here together in oneness, and we can find within each of us good. So let us recognize that Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He did not say, I can forgive. He did not say, I will do this, and I will do this alone. He said, the Father forgives them, for they know not what they do. He was calling on spirit to do the work. He was calling on consciousness to do the work. He was saying, with the Spirit of God, I can do this work. This work can be done through me. So it's not like we have to say, okay, this horrible thing has happened to me, and I should just let it go. Sometimes forgiveness is done again and again and again. So how many times shall we forgive? 70 times 7? What does that mean? 70 times 7. That means we forgive and we forgive and we forgive until we are forgiven. And if that means we have to do it every moment, if that means we have to call ourselves back to God every moment, then we do that. I have a practice of singing praise God to the hymn of Amazing Grace, so that when I go off on a negative thought about a situation, a person, a thing, I just start doing praise God. So that I can call myself back, because I can assure you, I have not gotten the forgiveness thing down completely, or even at all. It is a practice. It is a practice that I do daily, moment by moment, if necessary. Forgiveness doesn't excuse someone's behavior. Forgiveness prevents their behavior from destroying the heart. I'll say that again. Forgiveness doesn't excuse the behavior. It prevents their behavior from destroying the heart. So I'm just going to ask you to stop and breathe for a moment. Put your hand on your heart. Breathe in. Allow yourself a moment of breathing in God, and exhaling all that you're ready to let go of this moment. Breathing in and exhaling all of that we're ready, you're ready to let go of. It is through forgiveness that we can stop the endless recycling of guilt and anger. Reverend Vincent says that everything is just as it needs to be. And if we would forgive, our minds and our hearts would open and we would see another possibility. And this is important. This is what I was referring to a little bit earlier. Because you see, we may not think that everything is just as it should be, but everything is just as it is. And if we can let go, and if we can forgive, if we can open our hearts and our minds, we can begin to see another possibility. We can begin to see another possibility. Oprah says that when we can begin to say, thank you for the circumstances of our lives, then we have begun to forgive. And we can say thank you for the circumstances of our lives. Now, I'm not saying that we can necessarily give thanks for everything that's happened to us, but we can give thanks for all that we've gone through to get to this place, to be who we are. I've experienced some things that I wouldn't wish on anyone, but I wouldn't give them up today because it makes me who I am. And who I am, I'm grateful for. So you see the difference in that? Can you see how that's forgiveness in its own little way? I wouldn't want anybody to experience it. I wouldn't even want to experience it again. But I'm real grateful for who I am today. So, can we move to that place? That we open our hearts a little bit. That we begin to see another possibility. Forgiveness is the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself on your spiritual path. And if you can't learn to forgive, you can forget about getting into a higher levels of awareness. And don't you want a higher level of awareness? Spiritual awareness. We're talking about lifting ourselves spiritually. About that greater connection with the divine. With knowing God even more. Can you begin to forgive yourself and everyone else? Can you forgive everyone, including yourself? And are you willing? Are you willing to forgive everyone, including yourself? I know that's hard. Remember, Jesus said from the cross, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He had every reason in the world to not forgive. And yet, he said, forgive them. Forgive them. They know not what they do. So can we affirm that it's the consciousness of faith that Jesus had? That it is there that we have the means of an inner spirit, an inner law that is taught and practiced by Jesus, by all world religions. It is an inner believing, an inner faith that carries us, that takes us to a place that we can stop hate, that we can stop meanness, evil, a place where we can find love, a place that we can find love. Are you willing to go to a place that you can find love? All major religions, traditions, basically carry the same message. That love, compassion, forgiveness is the most important thing that should be a part of our daily lives. All major world traditions carries the same message. Love, compassion, forgiveness. It's the most important part of our daily lives. I know that in your life, you've made mistakes and you would like to be forgiven. I know in your life, you have made mistakes and you would like people to show compassion. I know in your life, you have been loved and you have loved and you want to be loved. And that's what we want, is we want to be loved. We want to be forgiven. We want to move forward. We want to find joy. We want to find freedom from the pain that we experience in life. The Dalai Lama has experienced great hardship in his life, if one would go there. And yet, he recognizes the importance of love, compassion, and forgiveness. Are you willing? Forgiveness is unlocking the door to set someone free in realizing that you are the prisoner. Are you ready today to let yourself go, to set yourself free, to set yourself free in love, to be more than you've been, to love more than you have? It is my prayer that you have, that you are, that you can. Maybe not this instant will you forgive everybody and everything, but it is my prayer that you begin this journey. It is my prayer that in this moment you find time to go within, to breathe into that heart space, to find compassion for yourself, to go into the heart space and find that person that is difficult for you, and just make a little space for them. Just make a little space for them to receive a little light from God, of God. Just a little light. For recognizing that as they receive light, you too receive light. Just as when we stand next to someone in the rain, we too receive rain. So when we stand in the sunshine and pray for sunshine for the other person, we're all in the sunshine. We can find it. We can experience it. We can be it. We can find peace. We can look for peace. And in looking for peace, we can find connection. When we look for peace, we can find others looking for peace also. When we breathe in peace, we can experience peace in our hearts. When we breathe in peace, we can experience peace in our bodies. When we breathe in peace, we can experience peace in our minds. When we breathe in peace, we can hold our arms out, sending love and peace into the universe. And so it is. Amen. And namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Sondra. It's a good reminder to do this every day. And in our closing, let's do James Dale Freeman's wonderful prayer, the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll join us every Wednesday evening for our healing and meditation service. And with that, we close in our traditional way by saying, Namaste.